Welcome to Burn After Pitching, a monthly podcast about pitchers where we invite creatives to come in and pitch on their take on whatever crazy ideas come into our head. Today is a special. We recently did our WonderCon panel, and we wanted to give you would it be a preview, possibly a preview or a post view of our wonderful WonderCon panelists. Today we have Sandra Dimas, editor and host of the Story Geeks Podcast.
Hi.
Greg Smith. Hello, Sandra. Greg, co-writer of Junior Braves of the Apocalypse and the comic book Starlite. Greg Smith.
Hello.
Abed Gheith, writer on Rick and Morty and on the upcoming Oni comic book Orcs in Space.
Hello.
And speaking of Orcs in Space and Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, we have my frequent co-host and pitcher contributor, Michael Tanner.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Hey. It's a mini-sode, but we got a good one. Today we are going to pitch a spin-off. Take a favorite character from your favorite show and pitch us a whole story about them. You know, you could do as Frasier, as Lone Gunman. I'm trying to think what are some other good ones. As like
Joey from Friends.
Yeah. Yeah, are you going to be a Joey or are you going to be a Frasier? We'll find out today. All those ones that came out, Happy Days, I think that wasn't that like didn't 5 shows?
Happy Days was a spin-off, or Mork and Mindy was a spin-off.
Like
Happy Days. Joni
Laverne
Loves
and
Was there
Shirley.
Joni Loves Chachi?
Laverne and Shirley.
Happy Days is
Shirley.
technically a spin-off of Love American Style. It was based on a segment from Love American Style.
True.
Oh wow.
Rhoda, Maude,
Well,
moving on up. Not moving on. Not the Jeffersons
Phyllis.
was a spin-off.
Phyllis was,
Oh yeah.
Good Times was a spin-off of Maude.
it was?
Yeah.
Now that I did not know. Okay.
That's
Of
Mama's
Maude?
Family came from Carol Burnett's show.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
That's like a comedy sketch that got spun off into its own show.
Right. One of my favorites.
The 80s were wild. But hey, so we are trotting in some wonderful, a wonderful path. But anyways, now I want to hear about your pitch for a spinoff. Abed, would you like to start us off?
Yes, I'm excited about mine because I am a massive Twin Peaks fan, like favorite show of all time. And I was watching it recently, and this thing came up where Michael asked me to do it, and then I was like, why hasn't there been a spinoff from Twin Peaks? Come on. There's like so many characters that are great. So I thought, well, a good sort of vehicle would be like an anthology show called Tales from the Great Northern, where it's basically like different people coming to different rooms in the Great Northern Hotel and having a kind of surreal, supernatural experience there involving the Black Lodge. And so it's like the person's new to Twin Peaks and and you have a lot of familiar faces stop by. Of course, Ben and Jerry Horn are the main characters, and which I love them. They're so funny. Audrey also makes a constant appearance because she's sort of taking over the hotel. So she's basically being groomed to become the new Ben Horn. And and so you would have every episode would be a different tale.
Yes, I like that as an approach in anthology rather than trying to like create a new narrative in a show that's already kind of like.
I just miss self-contained episodic shows, and I think that would be a perfect vehicle for it.
And a hotel is like the perfect place for it.
Yeah.
And can you pitch us a sample episode? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I want to know more about the Great Northern.
You know, I didn't really think of separate episodes, but I would say you have like an FBI agent who's like Agent Cooper, who basically comes to like, there's like this other weird thing that happens and he's investigating it. So then he stays in Cooper's room. Ooh. And if you remember Twin Peaks lore, Josie Packard was killed in his room, and she went into the like
handle,
the wooden
right?
drawer. Yeah, the handle. So then that becomes where the guy's in that room, and she comes out of the door handle and starts like visiting him when he's asleep. He doesn't know if it's a dream or not, but then he wakes up the next day and he starts to figure out like Josie's trying to tell him something. Something is not like, you know, it wasn't left or it's left I don't know what the word is.
Unresolved.
unresolved in the town. He has to figure it out, solve the mystery, the crime, whatever.
Man, that's amazing. That was just off the top of your head too, right?
Yeah, well, just because I was like, they didn't really wrap up the Josie Packard thing, so.
Yeah. Well, plus it's a great ghost story too.
Oh yeah,
But-
oh yeah.
And it's a handle, which is like that weird David Lynch twist too.
Yeah, well,
I thought-
David Lynch would have to be a producer for sure.
Cool. Yeah, you could get milkshakes, you could meditate. This is great. I know. What are the other, if I can open it up to the panel, anyone else got some great ideas for some great northern things? You have the Twin Peaks backdrop. I know some people can't see this on the podcast. Greg, so who's your Twin Peaks?
I would love to see a relative of the log lady make an appearance.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and just be part of all, like, just popping in through different segments and stuff like that, because it just always a fun moment, never a
It would
lost.
have to be her son,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he would carry the same log. Although she
Inherit
would
the
be
log.
buried with it, I guess.
The Log Lad.
The log lad.
Log Lad is a good name, yeah.
Oh,
I love, she was buried with the log. He has the log. No one knows what the hell happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, they say that could always be like, I thought she was buried with it.
she was.
Was.
And then they never address it.
We never go into it. Maybe you hear his brain, like in his brain, you hear like sounds of a shovel.
ooh, I like that.
I guess, but it's Twin Peaks. Like there's weird space things going on. I think, if the log wants to, the log goes where the log wants.
Whatever the log wants, the log gets.
The log is actually the central character in the show.
Cool. Absolutely.
Got a
Well,
lot of rings.
yeah, he's got lots of layers. Right. He could be our Rod Sterling thing. So he'll come out with the log. It's like the log says that life is strange, but you have to take other paths. The log says good night. Okay. Excellent. We are off to a great start. I love it. And well, I put Greg on the spot there. Sorry about that. But to make up for you, I'll let you go next.
Oh, okay. So I am choosing the TV show Superstore, and I am choosing, actually, I would like to see, because there's a multitude of different characters there. But I think taking two characters and giving them a spin-off show together, Marcus from the Back Room and Sandra, where they have a YouTube channel where it is Sandra explaining all these different types of mythical creatures and cryptids and other things like that, and her ideas of these things that she doesn't talk about at work. She keeps it in and then explains it and then takes questions from people and has all these different things. And I was thinking that Marcus would have his whole bit would be that he wants to be part of this with her, but he also wants to express his baking skills because he is a massive, awesome baker. So the two of them tackle cryptids and cooking together on their YouTube channel, and they basically are cooking through the cryptids.
All right. I know you're saying TV show, but this sounds like an amazing YouTube channel.
No. That is what it's a TV. That's what I meant. It's a TV show based on their YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a YouTube Red
Yes.
original series.
Yes.
But it's presented like a normal YouTube
What's YouTube
vlog.
Red?
YouTube Red
Yeah.
is what I think they kind of sunsetted it. Was their premium service.
No, I'm joking. I know it is. It's just because it's gone. I was making a joke.
Yeah, it's gone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. Yeah. They don't talk about it as much, but yeah. Like now they want you to do the
That's-
music for 1 month free.
I do like. Do you remember like a couple years ago where a lot of shows like Community and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend would do things where they would have like a side character had a YouTube channel, and then we'd occasionally just see their YouTube videos as like
Yeah,
a good joke and a
definitely
filler.
did that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember.
Well, yeah, there was, the Leonard's frozen
Yeah,
food
yeah.
reviews.
Ah,
And then on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it was Karen, the weird office. I think her name was Karen, the office lady who reviewed like feminine hygiene products for our YouTube channel.
I thought you were going somewhere else because Community also had their own fake spin-off. They do like little tags where it was the Nicole Yvette Brown's character becomes a caretaker for a brilliant detective. I think it was Nathan Fillion, and like they do little scenes from her spin-off, which was like a USA Blue Skies crime show.
Oh, okay. I feel like I do remember that.
Can I point out that Leonard on Community was actually in like a bunch of like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movies, and he was also in Stalag 17.
He had like a
Wow.
weird,
He had a huge career,
right?
And he was on Cheers, an episode of Cheers. Like it's weird. Like if you look him up on IMDb, he's been in tons of stuff.
Was he in the Little Rascals? Because that was a joke on the show, and I was like, he might have been.
He might have been. I don't remember that joke, but that could be true.
It was like Joel was like, "What are we, the Little Rascals?" And Leonard's like, "I was."
That's a good.
Wow. I got to look that up now.
Yeah, because it's even funnier if it's true.
It's got to be.
I hope. Yeah. Don't look it up. Let's
live in this fantasy space where that happened.
Excellent. Cool. I'm loving the Twin Peaks. I'm loving the Superstore. Michael, tell me your spinoff.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I guess this might be a little bit more obscure because it's a show that's been off the air for a couple years. It was never that popular. So I'm pitching a spinoff for the show Last Man on Earth. If everyone remembers that show, with Will Forte,
I loved it.
Kristen Shaw. Okay, so to catch people up who didn't see that show where there's a massive virus, a global pandemic that kills most of the population. In fact, leaving only a few people left. One of them is Will Forte, who lives alone in Tucson, Arizona for several years and goes a little crazy. And then he meets Kristen Shaw and then more and more people until they build like a kind of small family unit. There's like, I think 7 of them. And they meet other people, kill other people come and go and die. There's lots of like people dying on that show. But at one point they meet a boy, like an 11-year-old boy, who they name Jasper, because he doesn't really talk that much and he never tells them his name, but they call him Jasper. And it was one of those shows where they introduced a kid character and then didn't really know what to do with him. So they made it so that he was kind of a loner anyway, and would go off on his own. And at one point they just let him leave. And one of the characters, I can't remember the name of the actress, but Betty Draper from Mad Men.
January Jones, right?
January Jones, who is great on that show. She's like, I think people really thought she was not a good actress after the X-Men movies, but she is hilarious on Last Man on Earth. She's the only one of the characters who kind of bonded with him, but she like lets him go live on his own. Toward the end of the series, they decide, once they start to run out of supplies, because they live in Malibu for a while, then they move different places and they end up somewhere in Mexico. They start to run out of supplies and they decide, okay, let's move to Cancun. So they all like pack up their stuff and they're going to move to Cancun. And they make a point of saying, we left a note for Jasper. And I think they said we left a self-driving car and a note for Jasper to tell him like that we're in Cancun and directions on how to get there. And then they're traveling.
Responsible thing. Like, they're leaving the kid, they're telling him how to get there. So in like the final 2 episodes, they find a place like this beautiful orchard, orange trees, avocado trees, goats. And they decide, like, Will Forte's character, who has matured to the point where he's like, wherever we go, if we go to Cancun, all we're going to find is beaches full of dead bodies again. We're going to just be living on junk food. If we stay here on this farm, we can actually live, like we can live a good life. And he convinces all of them to stay. And then the show actually ended on a cliffhanger, where they decide to settle down on this farm. And then they're surrounded by like literally dozens of people in gas masks. And it's all very threatening. And that's how the series ends. They never address that they decided to not go to Cancun. And they also did not tell Jasper. So as far as my spinoff is Jasper, the 11-year-old boy,
gets in the self-driving car and goes to Cancun and doesn't find anyone. So it's kind of a reboot of the series, basically, but now it's like a 12-year-old boy in Cancun just by himself trying to survive. And so it'd be kind of like a young adult version of Last Man on Earth. So like Last Boy on Earth. And he'd run into like other kids. Like that would be kind of the reboot is like, it's basically the same series, except now they're all like kids who survived.
Yeah.
Who have all kind of found
It's
each
like
other.
Goonies meets Last Man on Earth.
Well,
Yeah.
It's Kid Nation, but not a horror.
Kid Nation without the lawsuits.
Yeah.
So that's my spin-off of Last Man on Earth, The Last Boy on Earth, featuring Jasper the boy.
That's a clever idea.
I love that idea.
I love that show. So that's I want to see that.
I like, it's one of those things where I'm like, God, they should at least have done a YouTube like video or like a YouTube series of just a couple episodes. Because
that kid is great. Like that kid actor was so hilarious.
It's hilarious. And it's just like, was such a glaring omission at the end of it, because they didn't know it was the season or the series finale. They kind of expected like the show would never get renewed each season. So they kind of like, whoa, we end on a cliffhanger. Who cares? Maybe we'll get to resolve it. Maybe we won't. But this one is such a cliffhanger, and they do not address Jasper in the final episode. I was just like, that would be a great spinoff. Let's see what Jasper's up to.
Yeah. Love it. Cool. Excellent. Okay. Sandra, finish us off.
Well,
what is your dream spinoff?
Michael's is my favorite. So
thank you.
Mine is like, a little bit of a darker take. So I'm going to be pulling from the mini series, The Shining.
Oh,
just because it has to be something that was on TV.
I
right?
love it. I love that version. I had the actor sign my DVD.
Oh, wait, the Steven Weber one, right?
Yes, I had him sign my DVD of the series.
Yeah, so that is what I'm pulling from, but I want to see Dick Hallorann back. I want to see everything that we hear in the novel or read in the novel, all of his experiences growing up and a lot of trauma there. His grandmother teaching him basically what we see in Dr. Sleep. What Danny ends up doing is being able to lock these ghosts in these boxes. So he learns that from Hallorann. So getting to hear how Hallorann learned that from his grandmother, seeing how he's using his shine to interact with these ghosts, not only at the Overlook, but also in other areas that happen, like in other books from Stephen King.
Is Hallorann the groundskeeper, the Scatman Crothers?
Yeah. He's the chef.
He's the one that teaches the kid.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
cool. Thank you. Continue.
He's such a great character, not only in the miniseries, but in the film as well. And I know like Stephen King didn't really care for to put it mildly, didn't really care for the Kubrick version, but ultimately the aesthetic was powerful enough to have it be seen in Dr. Sleep. And so I would just love to learn more about Hallorann and to learn, get flashbacks to his childhood, interactions with his grandmother, some of the backstory of the trauma in his life, how he managed to interact with these ghosts and do it in a way that didn't destroy him and didn't have him kind of succumb to some of the demons that Danny did and that his dad did, so just seeing that, I would love to see that character at a deeper level. That would be great.
Who played Hallorann in the miniseries?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I love her idea.
But
I'm such a big fan of that miniseries.
It's Melvin Van Peebles.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
wow.
Mario Van Peebles' father, right?
Yeah.
Sweetback's that was one of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the most, I guess, acclaimed aspects of that miniseries. Because it wasn't too well received, I guess. But I also loved,
it's 5 hours long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but Stephen King, we all suffer through the Langoliers and all these other things that
I love
Stephen King.
Langoliers.
I
Huge
like
fan.
the TV
Me
movie of
too.
Langoliers.
I
Yeah.
love Stephen King, but I know like in that time, like the 80s, 90s,
Tommy
anything
Knockers.
that anything that King had his hands in or on, it's not necessarily for everybody, especially from that time. I think what we see now of King's adaptations, people appreciate more, but what we saw back in that time it was more niche, and it was more for the people like me and my brother and my stepdad and I guess some of you guys, more for our taste and not for kind of general consumption. And so I think it'd be great though to see that character, because we see him in not only in Dr. Sleep, and of course we know that he survives as opposed to what we see in the film. So we know that he survives, and he has a backstory and he appears in other books as well. So I think it'd be great to kind of pull that rich history and show a new generation of like how deep the characters are.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's what I want to see.
I'm sorry. I'm debating whether excellent all. I'm wondering whether to invoke host privilege because it's just sort of off the cuff. But I've been binging a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I would love Adrian Pimento as a CIA spy in Central America, because of course no one would believe he's a spy because he's absolutely nuts. And plus, it's just Craig Mantzoukas being crazy, And I was probably inspired by the Cancun Last Man on Earth, just get him in some like weird Banana Republic or messing around with them drug cartels. So that's me, Adrian Pimento versus the drug cartels.
Nice. Let's see. Are there any spin-offs coming up that have been announced? I'm trying to think of any shows that actually have like shows that are spinning
kind of a
off.
Spinoffs are a dead art, aren't they? Like there's not a lot of them anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least in the comedy, right? Like in dramas, I feel like they beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
Like that's why we're getting. Oh yeah.
We got Mix-ish, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's all they tried with The Office to do The Farm, but that didn't take off for some reason, which is weird.
That's a bad idea, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love Mose, but if Mose became a big star, we might never have gotten The Good Place, because Mose is played by Good Place creator Michael Schur. I don't know if anything is different to The Good Place.
Yeah, I think Mose needs to stay as obscure as he is. Like if we start to know more about him, I don't know, he'll lose a little bit of the mystery, I think. Yeah, I thought about that too.
Well, someone agreed with you because they did not make the show.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Right.
Because Dwight doesn't work as the lead, because it's like your lead needs to be.
He needs a Tim.
Yeah, like there's got to be like a baseline normal, and Dwight can't be that guy in that world. So it just like the premise was fraud.
If you had like a Kramer spinoff, that wouldn't work because you would need Jerry there to kind of normalize him.
Yeah. The Wacky Neighbor doesn't work. I guess that's true. I'm trying to think if we ever had a Wacky Neighbor spinoff that didn't work. The Ropers didn't work.
No.
I love the Ropers.
Okay.
I liked it.
It might be great, but I'm just saying it did not set the world on fire.
America didn't like it or didn't accept it, but I mean, it's so funny. I love.
You do get like Mary Tyler Moore gets Rhoda, gets Cloris Leachman's character too. So she had like her two best friends spun off into two shows.
Yeah.
But they also
Growing Pains had Just the 10 of Us.
Oh, I love Just the 10 of Us. And I met a writer on that show and I told him how much I loved it. And he just looked at me and said, "You have no taste."
You touched a nerve, pal. You opened a wound. That's what happened there. Well, yeah, I think in the Turtle
they did do didn't they do a spinoff? And someone mentioned it earlier with Joey from Friends. Didn't he have a show?
Yep, he had 2 seasons. Because
Yeah,
Joey doesn't work as the lead.
Same thing. He can't carry a show is the problem.
Yeah. I mean,
I wonder well, from the Office, since we were talking about the Office, I was thinking about that, and I'm like, who would be able to carry a show? And I wonder if Stanley, but Florida Stanley, would be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to hold a show.
He
Because
really
he's a
he
totally
did that
different guy.
Kickstarter.
Tried that. Yeah, he did the Kickstarter of the guy who's just like Stanley, who moves to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was just a brilliant way to move merchandise. He's like, we're not going to make the show, but I'll make the merchandise everyone gets for backing the Kickstarter.
he's not making the show.
No. He even admitted like it was the show was never really going to happen. It was just a way for him to sell merch, like
Oh,
to like raise money to make merch and sell the merch.
I mean, as sad as that makes me, that's a very Stanley move.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Hopefully, we're putting what is it, spin out vibes in the universe. We will get more spin-offs. You know,
You could do Andy at Cornell, because
Yeah.
Andy at that point was back to being a straight man, because they made him like, they didn't know what to do with the Andy character like after they made him the boss. That's why he's like, sometimes he's Michael and sometimes he's just like even more of an awful person.
yeah.
Mhm.
But like he had, by the finale, he had mellowed out and he had gotten his dream job at Cornell, and he got married, and so he had become like a stable main character you could build a show around. Like he could still have his normal quirks, but like he could be the straight man enough that the rest of his recruitment office at Cornell could be the wacky characters that he works with.
I wonder if you could do a Jim and Pam domestic comedy, because it seems, they seem like they're a funny couple. You know, you got
Because then you could bring Daryl along, and he's in a different. It becomes
Oh
more
my
of
God! Well,
a
yeah.
corporate comedy, because it's he's working with sports stars, and it's it's a different level of business.
Everybody loves
comedy.
Jim, essentially.
Yeah.
I wrote a segment for Interdimensional Cable 1 about like dead cat lady, and it was like Weekend at Bernie's. And all the
Yes.
cats were like holding up the old lady and moving her around, and that was originally an idea that I pitched as a cartoon. As like I pitched it as its own thing, and like nobody wanted it, so then I just threw it into Rick and Morty.
That's
That's
funny.
crazy. I have a friend who did the dead cats have to animate the dead cat lady to solve the dead cat lady's murder. It was a murder mystery solved by the
That's
cat.
funny.
Wait, was it inspired by that sketch?
No, this was years before.
Okay. Yeah, like I just try to do it just about those cats, like them like having to constantly pretend this lady's alive.
Yeah. And the joke being she's getting more and more
It's getting more and
decomposed.
more gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody got it. They all thought it was. They're like, "What? I don't understand why the cats like." Nobody got it.
Well, I mean, I'm glad they got enough to put it on, because it was hilarious.
I think because it works for like 2 minutes, but then it's over.
Well, I mean, the joke of it is how little sense it makes. So
Right.
But yeah, great segment. So yeah, actually, spinoffs. Let's bring them back. And speaking of, we should have a WonderCon panel at some point. But anyways, let's wrap up this mini episode. Tell us where we can find you. Sandra, we ended on you, so let's let you go first. Where do we go?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hey It's Sandra D. And you can find the Story Geeks at thestorygeeks.org. And you can also find us on YouTube, where we have a weekly live show.
Wait, Sandra D. That's a Grease reference, right?
Well, but it's also my name. So
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not.
Your parents
accusing you
named you
of-
after the character from
Yeah.
Grease? Were they really big fans?
Yeah.
Well, it's me.
sure, yeah.
I'm not accusing you of
Why not?
stealing like Stocker Channing's identity or anything.
I mean, I could have had a longer handle, like look at me, it's Sandra D, but too many characters.
Yeah, make it an Easter egg for the fans, for the real Grease fans. Michael, how about you?
You can find me on my website, bymichaeltanner.com, where you can get updates about all my projects. One of those projects coming up in July is a new series from Oni Press called Orcs in Space, which I'm co-writing with Abed and his brother.
I've heard
And
of
Justin Roiland.
I've heard of him too. All right, excellent. Well, Abed, how about you? Where can we?
Sorry, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Abed G, ABEDG. And I'm also writing that comic with Michael, my brother Justin, and the wonderful artist Francois Vingel. Is that how you say his name?
No idea. It's French.
It's French.
Francois, you're great. We love your art.
He is kicking ass, and that is coming out. It's coming out July 7th, but you can probably order it in April.
Cool. Greg, how about you?
You can find me at That Amazing Twit on Twitter and on Instagram. You can find me at Junior Brave 65, posting up with Michael Tanner about Junior Braves of the Apocalypse information and other things. And yeah, sometimes you can hear me on Nerds from the Crypt.
Cool.
So yeah.
Any Starlite news?
Oh, Starlight, we're actually about ready to ship issue number 2 for Starlight. Right. And we are gearing up shortly for our Kickstarter for issue number 3. So follow us at starlightcomic.com and get all the information for our new and upcoming Kickstarter for that issue number 3.
Cool. And I am Andy Nordvall. You can find me at andynordvall.com. Look it up on Google. It's findable. I do the webcomic. I did the illustrated fantasy novel Siren Song. At some point this year, I will be in a Kickstarter comic anthology called Producing the End by Soda and Telepaths. I'll give you more information as I have it. And that's it for us. Thanks for listening. Check out our other podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and all your podcast apps. And while you're online, check out our website, thegrandgeekgathering.com, all one word, for articles, shows, and more. You can stay updated from our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram page. I think we got a Discord too. Our outro music is, as always, by Carlisle Laurent. So come and join the gathering. Have a great week, and GGG.